Say hi, bud. He says hi. He says hi. How's everybody doing? Hope everybody's having a good day. I hope everybody has had a good week. But it's Friday. You know what that means. What does that mean, Corbin? Corbin says it's time for Fun Time Friday. It's time to have some fun. So, we'll do our best. It's been a long week. All right. Taking this off. Okay, so this is today's page. I started this yesterday during our stream. Now, yesterday during the stream, I roughed it all out in paper, and then I simply sat down with my scribbly doodle and did a more refined version of what we had talked about. But I'm quite pleased with how it came out. And what a fun topic, but even more fun than that was the interactions and the responses from people that were in the stream. And I appreciate that greatly. Look at this. Relaxing. Yeah, so I appreciate that very much. And there we go. Yeah, so thanks everybody for taking part in that. Hiya, Chris. Welcome aboard. Hi, Miriam. Welcome aboard. So I hope everybody's had a good week. I'm sure that people have got a big, fun, packed, exciting weekend planned. And yeah, you want to let us know about it? You got anything coming up? Please feel free to let us know in the chat. If you have a one-page story suggestion, feel free to put it in the chat. If you have a single word prompt, feel free to put it in the chat. I'm letting people do that now. If you feel so inspired to let loose your natural proclivity to shout out soup whenever you choose to do so, feel free to do so. Yolanda, hi, welcome to the stream. I hope you feel better now. We're working on it. I'm getting there. We went this morning and picked up some new meds that I can have. Because I'm a type 1 brittle diabetic, there's certain medication that I can't have that we just sort of take for granted nowadays, like cough syrup. Because cough syrup, is lots of sugar in it, lots of syrup in it, and that's a no-can-go zone for me. So we found some stuff that's got little sugar in it, and we went to the local Dutch meat market here in London. London has a large rural Dutch community around it, and I picked up some sugar-free snacks, like some Wilhelmina suikerrivier. See that? Suikerrivier. It means peppermint sucker candies. It's but it's sugar-free, so I can have it, but it's got a lot of aspartame, so I can take care of that too. I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm sorry for that. How was the rest of my birthday? It was lovely. Thank you for those who took part in the stream on my birthday, and I got in trouble from somebody for being cheeky and saying, "Hey, thanks for joining me on my birthday" at the very end and signing off. And they said I should have said that at the start. Well, too bad. I am now turning 39 again. I've been turning 39 for so long that my oldest is about to turn 32. Okay. Chris says, I'm fixing lunch here, so I'll be in the background listening. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you taking part. Yes, cough syrup is super sickly sweet. It is indeed. Good day, Mr. Luan. Welcome aboard, sir. London, Ontario is a beautiful city. I love it. I love being here. It's having a hard time these days, as every major city is in North America. There's a lot of problems that aren't being addressed by the American and Canadian governments. And, but there's a lot of people that are rising up and trying to help each other out. And London has a great deal of organizations that are trying to sort a lot of the problems of the city. And I'm sure other cities have the same. But, it makes me wonder about that old expression of the responsibility of government, because boy, but London's a pretty great community around it, and it's got a lot of great people. And, we're happy here. Miriam says, happy belated birthday. Ooh, haha, thank you. It was a very sneaky way to announce your birthday. Sure was. Miriam says, I can't take medicine syrup or liquid form because of the saccharina and such. Oh, you're allergic to it. Oh, that's not good. My mother is allergic to penicillin. Penicillin. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a rough one. Chris says, happy belated birthday. I appreciate it. I appreciate it, everybody. It's I tend to leave my birthdays being understated because yeah. Corbin and I hung out though. We had some fun, didn't we, pal? Corby, did you have fun? Yeah, he's having fun. Okay, so today's page. I switched the studio around a little bit. I'm really pleased with this. I don't know if people do this like I do or not. But if I'm given a little bit of time on my own, like Lori had an extended meeting last night. So in my studio, I've got my desk set up, and my printer and my scanner have been on the opposite side of my desk, which meant anytime I'm going to do anything, I have to get up and walk all the way around. And I had enough of that yesterday. So I built, I removed a couple shelves that I had in the one unit that I built, and I built in a different structure for it. So now my printer and scanner are located directly below my computer. I'm very, very happy about this. And so I utilized that last night when I scanned the page for today. So it was fun. I will announce my birthday so everyone can write it on their calendar. A lot of people are allergic to penicillin. See, I didn't realize that. It's a very common allergy, Miriam says as well. Great minds, you two. Troublemakers. That's what my brother-in-law calls it. Yeah, I like that too. Yolanda. It's good. Everybody write down Chris's birthday. What is it, Chris? It's April 25th, 2024. There you go. Okay. Jim says, happy birthday. I didn't know it was your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Nice setup change. There we go. Yeah, so it's good. It's important to change our spaces up. Happy early birthday for next year. He got me. Great minds think alike and fools seldom differ. Yeah. There's an expression that if everybody thinks that something is a good idea, somebody's not thinking. I've always liked that one. Okay, so listen, I want to talk about a couple of things in the course of today's stream. And okay, so today's suggestion is a weird one. I'm going to write it down in the thing. This year, Jim's birthday is September 20th. Last year, it was May 19th. Yeah, here's a fun fact. I share the same birthday as Winston Churchill and Doctor Who. That's a weird one. So a friend of mine who's a huge Doctor Who fan suggests that I may well be Doctor Who because of my defying of age, and that I could possibly be 122,000 years old. So David says, Yolanda says, I thought it was on the 11th. Doctor, what? Yeah. Anyways, so reality, let me get today's suggestion on reality TV show documentary where the main character is, now it says they narrate a moron's take on a serious something. Holy cow, this is long. A moron's take on a serious subject, which has to have been covered up by numerous world governments. Holy cow. Anyways, I don't want to write moron, not too bright. Moron used to be a classification of words to denounce people that had diminished intellect. I don't like that. A reality TV show documentary where the main character narrates a not too bright take on a Whoops, a serious subject hidden by world governments. This is fun. Here's a reverse conspiracy theory, eh? And the suggestion is suggested by Uma. H. Okay. So, thank you, Uma. Yolanda says, Jim says, I share a birthday with Sophia Loren. Oh, my goodness. And Yolanda says, I share the exact same birthday as Kurt Cobain, same day and year. Wow, that's pretty cool. Now, when I say I share the same birthday as Winston Churchill, it doesn't mean we were born in the same year. Just thought I'd clarify that. I don't want people thinking that I'm older than I am. But I've been using the Jack Benny joke for years. Who's Jack Benny? Anyway, I can't look him up. He was the original host of the Tonight Show. Actually, it was Jack Parr. But Jack Benny would have guests on the show every year, and they'd say, well, happy birthday. I understand it's your birthday today, he'd say to the guest. And then the guest, he'd say, I'm celebrating a birthday myself soon. And they'd say, well, how old are you going to be, Jack? And he'd say, 39. They'd say, Jack, last time I was here last year, you were turning 39 then. And he said, well, if you're good at something, why change? So that's why I've been turning 39 all these years. But last year I switched. So this year I turned 100. I figure just round it off. Just round it off. Why not? I'm doing the George Burns. I moved from the Jack Benny to the George Burns. So there's today's suggestion. Oh, Miriam, you cannot have shared your birthday with your grandma. That is a time paradox. I know what you mean. It's the same day. But, there's a song called I'm My Own Grandpa. And if you want a little piece of funny, take a listen to that. Look it up. I'm My Own Grandma. And then there's another song by a country western performer that's You Were My First Cousin. It's also very funny. Am I going to age backwards like Benjamin Button? No, I'm just staying at 100. I mean, I'd retire, but who's going to take care of my parents? Anyways. I'd see, I just nonstop George Burns jokes and how, Anyways, well, you don't know me well yet. I'm older than I see, Miriam says. There you go. That's a fun song. That sounds funny, I know, but it really is so. I'm my own grandpa. Good for you. They covered it with the Muppets, if you need a good source to find that. Okay, so there's our suggestion for today. So I don't know much. I don't watch reality television. So, yeah. Reality television. What a misnomer. Okay, so I'm going to switch cameras. Let's get crack-a-lackin'. Now, yesterday I spent a little bit of time with, sketching and roughing everything out. I got it over here in the stack on paper. And, I switched cameras, by the way. I got another camera setup going to try to fix the lighting issue that I've had. So hopefully this is better for folks. Anyways, I roughed this out, the page for today, and which is how it turned out from our rough. So I had it all laid out there. It's nice, just touching into your brain pan and allowing yourself to pursue what you've conceived, and just don't worry about sourcing anything or having it become any grand idea. With all this sort of finished and polished lines. Chris says she'll be right back. See you in a minute. There's something definitely to be said for just trying to remember how things look and then trying to work it up from there. Right? Touching into your brain. Is that what I said? Did I say touching into your brain pan? Because that sounds like a very Christopher thing to say, doesn't it? Touching in your brain pan. There you go. What I'm referring to is we know how things look. We know what what we have in the world around us and what we have seen and experienced, and it simply is a case of figuring out some methodology in place in order for you to access how you know and understand that thing to be. And when you have the time to sit and study something, just for a moment, just to hold an object in your hand and to turn it around and get a sense of it. I don't need that note anymore. And just to get a feel for it, like the Book of Tricks here. So that when you sit down to draw, you should be able to access that part of your old brain ski to be able to try to figure out roughly how that works. And we're storytelling here. We're not realistically representing things. We're just storytelling. And so the principal interest is to get across the object, or the person, or the scenario, whether it's something like this or whatever it is, representational enough that people understand it. Here's a scribble I did on a scrap of paper. This is an okay example for this. Can anybody tell me what they did here? Yes, you did. And it was awesome. Okay, well, you can expect all kinds of ridiculous things to come out of my blabber here. So, so there's an object on the image, and ideally somebody looks at this and associates chair. Oh, I see a chair. Good stuff. You're back, bud. Corbin just came back to join us. Say hi. Yes, hey. Oh, he's just here to look at show. You're here to say hi? It's just a lot of show for nothing. Anyway, so the whole idea here being is that understanding the chair, drawing it in both positive and negative space in the same image, is just looking at something from both angles, looking at something as, how it's defined in space. And when you're looking at it from a positive and a negative perspective, it just sort of gives you the sense of truly understanding your subject. Because in one way that we put the marks down, where we can go over top of the other surfaces through it, which gives us a strong sense of form. But when we draw it the opposite, where we have to draw the contours around an object and leave the voids out to represent it in between those, then that forces us to understand even more firmly the dimensions of said object. And so on top of the conversation we had, I think yesterday, or at least, yesterday's conversation about breaking form down, and representing things in 3 dimensions and assessing those things with the 3 principal shapes of square, triangle, circle, right? That didn't turn out. So this is just a further extension to that now. So now we're looking at things as positive and negative space, utilizing these prints, like these simple shapes. And so this is sort of like the next sort of thing to approach, is looking at things as silhouette and looking at things and drawing the space around those and having a comprehension of them in that way. Yolanda says, hi, Corbin. They have an exercise in drawing on the right side of your brain about drawing a negative space of a chair, if I recall. Is that right? I'll have to check that out. I'll have to check that out, that's for sure. Do we have that book? I don't think I have that. Yeah, I don't have that book. I don't know if I've ever read that. Anyhow, that's a fun project to try, folks. Whether it's a chair, whether it's a whatever. No, you're probably right. You're probably right. I can't confirm or deny, because I don't. There's a little bit of glare on this. So what I got here today is a heavy Bristol paper, which is rather unforgiving, and because of the hot press smooth surface on it. Hot press, smooth. Cold press, not as sealed. It's got far more surface structure to a cold press paper. Lots of fiber. Hot press, they burn those fibers flat. So, hey, Aditi, welcome aboard. Yolanda says there's some negative space in my brain pan. Well, get to touching that negative space in your brain pan. Welcome aboard, Didi. That worked from a suggestion from your stream on yesterday's page, Didi. Thank you for that. Okay, so Today's suggestion being the elaborately long reality TV show documentary where the main character narrates a not too bright take on a serious subject hidden by world governments. And Uma suggested this. So, okay, let's get crack-a-lackin', what shall we? Hey, you know what? I can do it on here, or I can utilize this. The race is on. I could do it on this one. Talk about cars. Yeah. All right. So let's. So I've got a white Laurentian erasable pencil, and so we're going to just draw somebody cracking up here. Today's music of choice. Before the stream, I was listening to No Means No. And if you want a crazy song to get you adrenalized, look up the Day Everything Became Nothing by No Means No. It's a crazy song. You listen to that while you're vacuuming around the house, and before you know it, you'll be vacuuming up the walls. Yeah, this was a fun transfer. This is one of the few relatively successful ones, and which was completely blurry and lost what I was trying to pull out. There's supposed to be crowds in here, and fun on picking out the cars and having some fun with that. So yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Okay, so we're gonna draw somebody laughing and see where this takes us. But our subject is a long and crazy one today. So here's the idea I had for us to chat about today, and I'm interested in other people's inputs on this. Yes? You want to sit here? Corbin's wondering why he's not sitting in a spot. Anyhow, I don't know if anybody knows much about chaos theory, chaos theorem in mathematics. And it's all about variables and how no matter what, that we can't clearly define the progression of situations to follow a preset result. No matter how hard we plan, there's always a deviation point, a zenith point of deviation, and then there's always some sort of factor, that some variable that spins things out of control. Thanks a lot for all that information, nerd. So the point is, in art, and specifically in an art career, you can only plan so much engagement in the outside world, and with your trying to plan for your audience and trying to plan for the marketplace. It's Corbin's crawl over dad time. Hurry up, get situated. So we can only plan for that so much. You can only account for how your actions contribute to, how people respond to whatever it is that you're doing. Just get moving. Before it goes beyond your control. And this sort of falls into this whole theory I have been, of ideas that I've been chatting about all week about authenticity and, originality, like deliberate originality in your work and in your approach to things. But when it comes to social interaction, and some of you have been at that far longer than I have. And if any of you are left after me talking about chaos theory for a sec, but because I'm relatively new here at, I've only been doing it this year for coming on to YouTube and doing this. I've been, for a couple years, but it's only this year that I've actually applied myself to it. But I think that you can only, that's it? Yeah, sorry. I think that you can only account to a certain extent for people that you may engage with on here, and you can only account for to a certain extent for what you do and what you produce and how people might interact and engage with that. It's not going to work on before it goes out of your control. So my theory has been not to worry about it, which sounds a little ridiculous as usual. But what I mean by not to worry about it is if I'm just being me anyways and doing my own thing in my own regard anyhow, whichever maniacs come and hang out here and spend time together. Yeah, I realize they called y'all maniacs. Well, they're all right with that. Does that mean that that's going to, have large gross numbers of people hanging on whatever it is that I'm saying and thousands of followers or any of that stuff? I don't care. Because I'm just doing what I'm doing. And if people come and hang out and people want to engage in stuff, great. But at no point do I ever feel compelled to reach beyond being anything other than the silliness that I am. And if I'm compelled to do stuff, then I will do stuff. And if I'm not compelled to do stuff, then I will not be doing it either. That's all I got. That's the only control I have, because anything beyond that's chaos. And because it's external factors moving in, right? Jim says, my response to any criticism is, I know you are, but what am I? And I hope you say it to them. Someone says, yo, your thing sucks. Which I don't believe anybody would say that to Jim in the first place. Yo, your thing sucks. You just look at me and go, I know you are, what am I? Mm-hmm. And they go, boop, on their nose and walk away, because that's how I deal with most people. You have to do you. Yeah, you do you. I love that expression. Yeah, you get to touch in your own brain pan. Didi is my YouTube mentor. Didi's a great mentor for YouTube. You have to make vids, live streams because you love it, or you won't stick with it. Oh yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Like I enjoy engaging with who comes to the streams and hangs out and we talk about art, and if I'm able to help people with their questions and their ideas, and if I'm able to help, because I know for a fact that some of the people that have made suggestions about one-page ideas and or prompt ideas is because they have notions that they've got a keen idea to see somebody try to create that as a story. And some of them may not have the facility to do so. So that's kind of fun to be able to be part of that action with people. So recently I had somebody try to walk me through social media presence. And they had been watching some videos on social media marketing in order to try to help me out. And I appreciated that. But when it's, you need to do this, and you have to do this, and you have to do this, is generally something that I respond to with, no, I don't. So, so I appreciated the help. And if the person's, silently watching today, man, do I appreciate that. But at the same time, I'm pretty hard to pin down on stuff. One of my sons has tried to lay me some advice, and I've tried to follow through on some of that too, but I'm not good at it. I'm not good at that. And the reason that I'm not good at that is that if I'm compelled to do stuff, I'll do it. If I'm not, I won't. And it's all I can do to remember to do the things that I'm doing now. But I've kind of got myself pretty tightly booked on daily schedule so that it doesn't enable me to step out of it for the most part. But that also helps me to be productive. Like here's the thing. If Didi, if you're still here, I'm going to pick on you. I'm not really picking on her. I think Didi is still here. There's some people that give good tips, like about tags and thumbnails, etc. Yeah, those can be great. Dan, hey everybody, it's Dan. Didi, you're so great at interacting with the audience. I find it difficult to keep up with only 20 or 30 in a chat. Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know how she does it. Put it in caps, people. That's how she does it. That's what she says. Put it in caps. The funniest thing I think that Didi has to manage is the juggling of cats for her when she does her streams and she does draws. Is her trying to juggle the cats of whoever's there bidding, and she's like, don't. And the thing that always cracks me up, and so I have to get my answer in before she says it. She says, don't dilly-dally, lollygag, or that doesn't matter. I'm already laughing at that point. Okay, so anyways, I think that by doing whatever we're doing and doing it in our own way is another one of those ways about what I was talking about earlier this week is authenticity and originality and standing by what it is that you're doing. Finding the thing that you enjoy to do and doing it. Not doing it because it's popular or trending or anything like that. Doing it because you're compelled to do so and to pursue that. And as creators, I mean, most of us will see somebody, hey, look at this. Look what you can do with a bowl of soup. You're like, oh, I got to paint with soup. Just because we see stuff and we're compelled to utilize that mark making tool. But I mean, I got no problem with that stuff. But the start of the week, the reference that I've used is, drawing superhero characters from companies that you don't own and licenses that are not yours. And why are you doing that? When you, especially in the context that you have your own material that you've produced, do something with that, promote that, and showcase that, because people love that, right? People want to see what you're doing. And is it a lot of people? Maybe not at first. Miriam says, put it in caps if you're talking to me. Otherwise, I think you're talking with each other. Oh, that's definitely a DD statement. I usually juggle cats, but ASACP gives me the stink eye. The stink eye. Don't dilly-dally, dawdle, or lollygag. Dan says hi to Devin. My cats have learned to leave my desk alone. Some water spray helps train them. Now they see my bottle and run. There you go. I've got that. I make this sound. I go like that, and the cats will jump in the air. Relax. The cats will that's enough for them, and they know they're in trouble doing something. So, okay, so here's I'm doing our reality guy, giving him some crazy hair. There's an actor that I've enjoyed his work for years, and who is the guy who was on this TV series Andor recently. I was doing a lot of drawings of him for a character study for another project I'm working on. So I think that this character I'm doodling today is sort of reminiscent of him a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. So, chaos in your career. You can plan for whatever you want in your career, but it does not mean that it's going to happen. You can say, well, I'm going to be promoting and doing these things and going to these places and talking with those people, but if you're not doing anything, it's not going to happen. If you're not going out and talking to people and about your work and stuff like that, nobody's going to see it. There's so many. My point is, there's so many different variable factors, very much similar in the same way of the variable factors in chaos theory that can change the outcomes of how you think their progression is going to go for your work. And I don't know. That's a challenging position for people to try to figure out how they're going to do X, Y, Z in order to have their hopes and dreams and intentions to come together. Especially if somebody else's advice is that you should behave this way. You want to make $1 million? Do the things that I do. Ugh. So I don't know. I've only watched the first couple episodes of Andor. I should get back into it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a fun one. When my cats are in trouble, I say, aha! And they know I'm upset about something they've done or broken. When my cats are in trouble, I take away the internet. Jim, I hope you don't mind today's page where I literally drew you hanging on the coattails of Gary's lovely frock. And, teach me of your ways. I have him shouting. That's my version of, that's my little Jim in there. My sister tried to train her cats the same way. She could not. Her cats wake up at 3 a.m. to get fed. Oh my gosh. Did you hear the word getting fed? Jump to your feet. I shout food in our house. Doesn't mean anything. I shout food in our house and the cats come running. Dee Dee says I'm just a cat butler. Well, there's the cats, the actual cats, in a household. And then there's the cats that Dee Dee chuckles and the people that are watching her stream that she's trying to do a raffle. What is it? Anyways, and no matter how many times herself or the moderators will say, if somebody else has guessed that number, their priority or don't change your number, you're out, or don't dilly-dally, dawdle, or lollygag. It doesn't matter how many times those are said. Somebody's always going to do it. And the reason I always use 11 is I think it's a perfectly lovely number, and I don't know why 11 is excluded from being one of the teens. Same goes for 12T. Jim says, I don't mind at all, Chris. Well, that's good. Herding cats. Yeah. So here's our first panel of our crazy laughing maniac. And so because this is a documentary style, I thought I would focus on day in the life is sort of where my brain has gone here, of a day in the life of this laughing maniac who is going to solve all the world's problems. Yeah, it's a real benefit to having the facility to organize folks in that. I will say that one of the things that my son is, giving advice on is that he said, Dad, you need moderators. And I didn't know what moderators were until I realized that it's the people with the wrench symbol on them on Dee Dee's stream. It's where I figured it out what a moderator was. I'm like, oh yeah, that's what. Okay, I see what he's talking about. He's talking about the cats. There you go. Maybe that's why the high school guidance counselor looked at when I said I thought sheep herder is a great career choice. Dinner time. Gotta go. Thanks, Christopher and everyone. Bye, Dee Dee. Or bye, Miriam. Thank you for coming and hanging out. Yolanda says, the hubby just got home. See you later. Thank you for the stream, Christopher. Love how your characters magically appear from the page. Oh, well, that's nice of you to say. Thank you. Mods are handy when you get trolls. Oh, yeah. I just got to go. I want to let you guys know that I'll be thinking of you at lunch. Each one of you, lovingly. Nice. Thanks, Jim. Have a nice lunch. Okay. Thanks, Yolanda. Thanks, Miriam. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you guys coming out. It's an interesting thing, the different time zones and the different times that we're all at. One person leaves for dinner, another one leaves for lunch. Or I think a couple left for lunch. So this This is wonderful to me to be able to chat with all of you from around the world. Okay, so I'm going to hold this up and hopefully not have to worry too much about glare and flash out. But here is, now when it scans, all of these, the white halo effect or framing effect around the head is pretty solidly comprised, I'm sorry, of the tip of my finger and dabbing white Posca pen around in that environment, in that space. And it gives it a really kind of a fun effect. I've asked Santa for new cameras for Christmas. Miriam said that she would write a letter to Santa suggesting that she has never asked for anything for Christmas, and he's never given her anything for Christmas. So therefore, could he give me new cameras for Christmas? So I appreciate Miriam doing that. But so when the new cameras come in, hopefully, at least a new camera, you'll be able to see some of those details. So, right. So excuse me if I'm trying to describe something that you can't see quite yet. Dan says, troll is short for Dan. Chris says, I like finger painting for some techniques. I think it's incredibly important. Now, I don't have nails because nails are the first victims of my anxiety. And, but I think that being able to utilize parts of your hand, and I'll use the tip of my nail in this regard and scratch things off like that, but I don't have nice pointy nails to do things with. I tried growing my nails out and I was scratching myself because I'll just do this, but when I got nails, I'm not conscious and I just, and it's just, so I'm using that as an excuse not to grow nails. Okay, so we've got our first panel of our laughing funny guy. And so what I thought I would do is to have our laughing funny guy just doing different actions. And as he's doing these different actions, based on the suggestion that today's page is, the suggestion will be exhibited as we're identifiably recognizing this person, seeing some of their eccentricities, and then when the revelation comes in that, well, this is the person who's going to solve this major crisis situation that a lot of world governments have been covering up. I just like the turn of the coin. You've got your idea, you got your presentation, and here it is on the top of the coin, and you're looking at it. But when you flip that coin over, it's a whole different view. In Canada, we got the queen on one side and the moose on the other. We're not saying anything related to Elizabeth in correlation to the moose, but I don't know if they made new coins yet about King Charles. Anyhow, so my point is that the turn of the coin reveals a different approach to the same story, the same object in its context of coin. So by the turn of the coin is a reference to we were identifiably establishing the eccentricity of a character. We're identifiably taking what has been described as a not too bright person that is our documentary is about. But when you show the silly, I'm having fun playing piano, I like sawing a piece of lumber, and this is the person that's going to solve a financial crisis of 2024, and then of course that sort of sets up the narrative to be able to then take it in so many different directions. Like we can lean hard into the absurdity. How's he going to solve the financial crisis? We change all our currency to soup, or whatever outlandish idea it's going to be. But I don't have to think about that now. What my focus is as a storyteller at the moment is identifiably establishing for the viewer the different things that our character does and narratively carrying them along in the actions that he does. You ever see the nails of guitar players? Yeah, well, I used to have the nails of a guitar player on one hand, but I can't do it anymore because it's ripped my shoulder to shreds just trying to scratch my shoulder. So actually, I clipped them all off when I started playing drums. Okay, so we'll do our next image. So I'm drawing on for those that joined late, this is a piece of Bristol paper that's got a really smooth hot plate finish on it, so very flat. So what I've done is on this side, I have thrown down acrylic paint onto it, and the saturation of the acrylic paint manages to make the pigment and the plasticity of the acrylic to adhere to the surface. So I've got this blue coat, green coat with a black wash over top of it, and I'm drawing in white, like I'm drawing in reverse, just for differentiating this page from the last page and the last couple of things, and sort of keeping active all the different art associations that I have in my head about process. Got to keep the different skill sets alive by doing them, right? Like finger painting techniques, as Chris described, or drawing in negative. So, and it's tapping into the same place as you do when you're drawing, positive. It's just having a subtly different understanding of your subject matter so that you can, clearly define the same form and stuff, but just doing it from the opposite direction. And you can only do that by practice, right? You can definably, the more time you spend doing it, the more recognizably you're able to what is it? Devin said pull, or Yvonne said pull a drawing out of a page, or just make the picture appear. I can't remember what it was. Access my brain pan. For those that keep wondering why I keep saying it, Yolanda was laughing at me about using that expression at the start. So I'm drawing the face of our guy and trying to make sure there's some joyousness in his face, and so I'm going to accent some value on the cheek here, and so I can raise up the surface like I did here, right? So, but the reason that I'm using the pencil that I'm using is so that I can immediately, in a lighter pencil, figure out all the form and all of the shapes and tones that are in the face, and then I just build them up as I go. So I'm looking at the first face here, and I've changed the angle on it, but I want to have some reminiscence of one image to the next so that you recognize that it's the same person. They've got the same structure of eyebrows. They got the same structure of squinting around the eyes. And even though we turn the face a little bit or give him a slight different expression, so that in this one he's talking, or in this case singing, as opposed to this one where he's just cracking right up. So this is another fun objective for folks that I'm always trying to encourage people to do, and that is draw in white. Draw on the opposite. Use a yellow, use a whatever, but draw on a dark surface with a light value. And it's interesting, and it's encouraging when you play with that idea for a little while and you see what comes out of it. So I think I'm going to define more space in this image than the previous one. I'll leave this cut short, but I want to get some of the hands in here so I can show him playing piano. Just trying to think of, so, playing piano, right? So I want to get those hands in the foreground here. Sometimes you got to take a second to figure out. Where's the thumb? There we are. Chord. Anyways. Excuse me. I'll pull that up so you can see what he's doing in this image so far. It's hard sometimes to trust in yourself in the direction that you're taking, because easily you can get lost in the image as you're producing it. But just keep at it, stand by it, and keep at it, and then you'd be surprised with yourself as you, oh no, okay, I was going the way I meant to go. Or even if you don't, at the very least, you can give yourself the chance to try it. If it's incorrect for what your expectation was, you can go back and try it again. Unless somebody says, finish drawing that picture, you're a dead duck. Then I can see you being in a place where maybe you really got to make sure it comes together the way you want it to. But that seldom happens these days. So my idea with this panel is him, really enjoying playing the piano and having a good time at it, and not being overly concerned about how other people perceive his joy. So I've got the whites, I've got a navy blue pencil, and I've got a sky blue light from PC 1086. I don't know what brand this is. I'm so sorry. It's always the guy smiling and playing piano during Reefer Madness. That's unsettling. Oh yeah. When he looks right at the camera. Indeed. Lori was going today to get contacts. Ooh. Very exciting. So this light blue is very light blue. That's all right. Maybe if we go over it a couple times, the blue will pop up a little bit more. Either way, drawing with the white pencil on a blue painted surface, the blue from the surface is going to pop up anyways. Okay, so we've got our second image of our guy coming in. Let's get started with the enhancements here. And what I mean by the enhancements is the cheek jelly roll pen, and I'm going to pick out some of the contact points of his plaid shirt. To suggest where, when you have a plaid shirt and the overlap of the crossing values, horizontal and vertical lines, then you have these little contact squares of overlapping color. And so that's what these are. And the reason that I tamp them with my finger is to just push that value down just a little bit. We don't need it to be too opaque. I'm excited to see Lori's contacts today. It's going to be cool. Drawing on black paper, it's a bit difficult for me. I need to practice more. So here's, let me see. Here's an approach that I have suggested to a couple of people to try. if you don't mind, I'll show you an idea. I got another piece of this stuff. Let's do this. Okay. Excuse me. All right. So if I'm drawing a box on a dark surface and a light value, okay, and I've got the structure of it here. Now, when I'm penciling in the white, ideally, I don't want to be doing it utilizing line. I want to be doing it using value, using tone. But if you need to do that tracing of the lines for a structure first, allow yourself that, because what it can let you do is, give me 1 second, I just got to fill in these volumes. Now, there's slight pressure changes to hopefully change the values a little bit. And then when we go over top other areas, we can deepen the value or make the value more opaque. In this context, the white on the surface. But it's still, we still have the allowance of coming in with an eraser. And because we're working the way we are, bringing things up in a light way, by our application, I mean, like really penciling in softly, then you should still be able to come in with an electric eraser or a regular eraser and to cut out lines, to cut out shapes, so that you can get the same kind of effect. And then once you start developing a familiarity of defining shapes in this way, as you're now just penciling shapes in from studying form, looking at the object itself, and just filling in the lines the shapes in the object without having to draw these preset lines. And so it starts to help us to define objects more clearly and more readily in this way, by not drawing in those positive lines or those black lines as we normally would on a white piece of paper. But if putting the shapes of objects down first is a benefit to you, then do that. There can't be any expectation on yourself to pick up a dark piece of paper and to work on it with white and to have it be this finished thing that somebody that's been working for however long has produced. Because they've been working, I dropped my eraser. They've been working for however long to be able to produce that. So allow yourself that. Figure out methods and figure out approaches to it to make it easier on yourself. And then when you start thinking about things like the big wheel yesterday, right? If I think about the big wheel as being the parts of the wheel that make it up, like the spokes of the wheel, and I think about the frame of the wheel, and my mind accesses, the object as I have it in my memory pan, as I put it earlier. I start thinking about the shapes that start to define the form, and it's almost like a top-down approach to the composition, where I'm drawing the highest contrast parts of it first, and so over time, because my eye is trying to hold on to that thought, hold on to that memory of the object itself, and now it's trying, to convince my hand that here's the marks that I'm making to put that down. Then I can start to define that form. In this case, because it's so fresh to me from having drawn the big wheel yesterday, I'm just now approaching it from a different perspective, from a different angle. And in this case, it's drawing it negative as opposed to the positive drawing that I did of it yesterday. And then over time, you develop up the different values throughout it. You come in and you put these, you can further emphasize parts of it because you know that where the big reflections were that were sitting on it in the object. And as you place those through your image, it just sort of builds your image up and gives it more dimensionality, so, and more details. But whatever it is, just sort of allow yourself the time for that growth. And if there's objective ways, instead of starting like this, where I need to start by drawing in the structure of the big wheel and thinking about how the form works and how everything works together to, well, that was a crazy wheel, and drawing in those different parts of it and then just filling those in as I go. And then I can come back in with the eraser, like I said, and erase out those parts that I want to remove. Judy says, stick my hand up close to the camera for a second. I think it's the acrylic glare on the paper, Dee Dee. Or has that fixed things? Did that fix it at all? Flashing from the black paper. I hope that's improved it. Thank you for that tip, Dee Dee. Thank you for the. Has that made this better? I hope so. It can help. Okay, thank you very much. I didn't realize that. That's a great benefit. Okay, where was I? I was doing the lines on the shirt. Plaid. I think it does. So plaid. We'll put our lines down like so. Soft application on those, and then we're going to do the same application across them. The same amount of pressure as the previous lines you did. And then, now there's all kinds of different plaid patterns, but in the one that we're going to do, we're going to do a heavier application on a single line on one side of each of these spans of value that we put down in the first place. And so there's our emphasis points. And then what I talked about earlier, because I can't get it any more opaque with the white pencil crayon, this guy's being disagreeable. So I'll put down these cross points with the white, and this is similar to what I'm doing on the other page. This is just the plaid pattern that I'm trying to apply here, right? So yeah, we can even come in with a second value to really push those emphasis points. So that's how you start to develop plaid on a piece of paper. And so then when you going from black to white makes your camera angry. I love it. Oh, that's so good. Thank you, Dee Dee. See, I think I'm going to have to start a new widget book. Is that what it is? Widgets? Or what is your book where your people say funny things that just sort of just make you giggle? I think I need to start one of those because you guys are all brilliant. And some of the things that are expressed in the stream by folks that are taking part in it are so good. And I immediately, in and out. Yes, sir. Just come sit down. Just let me know he's here. Hey, have we considered putting an electoral sign on our front lawn for the upcoming election in Canada? That's what he's saying to me right now. Yeah, put down the Halloween decorations. When the Christmas one's going up? That's what Corbin's asking, right? Yeah, that's what he wants to know. So, utilizing a similar application of how the emphasis is on his forehead with his raised brow as he's laughing. I want to try to capture that same structure in the face, knowing that he's got a raised brow ridge here and that there's a clear defined plate in the foreground of his face here. some people have prominent brow ridges and long hair, and then some people have really prominent forehead plates. Mine is a little more prominent, but that's because of the dissipating hairline that I have. Dissipating, like the wind. Oh, before I forget, I had a couple things I wanted to show. So if somebody can remind me in a few minutes to do that. As I was straightening up the studio yesterday, I uncovered a pile of books that I want to just give a shout out to in a second. Oh, okay, he's telling me Mom's home. Mom's home. We should go and greet her as she gives us cat food. Well, that's what he's thinking. That's not what I think. I don't eat cat food anymore. Okay, so what have people got planned for this weekend? Has anybody said? I think somebody said earlier, and I saw it, and I meant to come back to it, but I didn't. Maybe not. Yeah, I thought somebody did, but maybe not. Okay, well, has anybody got anything planned? Any big plans this weekend, or any streams or anything that's happening? Feel free to let any of us know. And I think Chris had planned on doing something this weekend, maybe with Miriam. Dee Dee says it's rainy all weekend here. Yeah, it's a good rain shower outside right now here as well. We'll be organizing, doing Christmas cards, and buying gifts. Dee Dee, I would like a pony. Just a pony, that I can feed apples like this as it eats the apple. Actually, that's not true. Me, I want a hula hoop. Bet you didn't know that was me asking for that back then. Anyways. The hula hoop invented in 1953. Oh, sad I know that. Anyways. Did you would like a unicorn? Yeah, I think that in order to, because I've been thinking a lot about what I'm going to do next year, and this is the reason today's sort of subject came around, is that I've been thinking a lot about what I'm going to be changing the stream a little bit next year. Doing it 5 days a week is fantastic for maintaining the discipline of habitual engagement. Monday through Friday, I stream at 2:00, but there's a great deal of people that stream, and as I come to know more people, I think that I don't have any problem with giving up that time in order to watch these other people. And like Yolanda, who was here earlier, has been streaming on Wednesday, and I like watching Yolanda stream, and so I want to maybe think about doing less days a week for the stream in the new year. And in those alternate days, I will be doing shorts and videos and tutorial stuff for the YouTube channel. And if I get enough views, I should have the ability to offer more and to open up more avenues in in the new year on the stream on the channel here. There's a whole bunch of things that I looked at the YouTube, and because of the amount of views and the amount of likes and things like that, I can do new things. Now, I'm sure that most of you are well past all of this stuff and have all these opportunities for tools and things like that some time ago, but right now it's really limited and restricted for me on the channel, and it's because I don't have those avenues. Dee Dee says, I used to sit down. Oh, Chris says, I think that. Okay, I got to catch up. I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff here. Give me one sec. Christmas decorations and baking, finishing drawing projects, and start a needle felting figure. No snow, but rain. Oh boy. Christmas decorations. Oh, same thing. I think that we will stream on Sunday on Miriam's channel. Oh, fantastic. And it's doubled up again. Dan says, I must sit down and transcribe the bogus Christmas letter to the relatives. The children have all received the Nobel Prize, etc. We'll be summering this winter in Rangoon. I used to stream 3, sometimes 4 days a week, and I had to cut it back to a schedule of 2 days. I don't do videos, just a random short. I like your Barbie shorts. Those are fun. I don't know that they're intended to be shorts. I just think that they get put into the shorts mix because they're shorter videos, or whatever, reels or whatever they are on whatever platform. The videos that I'm talking about aren't. The tutorial stuff is really just taking a 1 minute, 2 minute segment of, hey, here's how you draw a toaster, or hey, here's one way to look at, like the talk I did yesterday about form and three-dimensional form and space and different approaches that people can make in order to look at the thing. And so this is really just taking a snippet of a talk, like of something we've talked about, and just saying, here's a video for those of you that can't sit down to any length of time to watch something. Because while our older generations have attention spans, our younger generations do not. Which is a sad truth. Dee Dee doesn't like editing. I have just started learning to edit, and I'm learning to do it on a really basic platform, something my wife has found me called Clip Shark, and it has all kinds of prescribed formats and hey, structure it like this, and so it's basically taking your things and putting it in the place of where their things are. That's complicated enough for me. Never will I be an editor of any caliber like Jim Luan is, But the videos that I'm talking about doing is silly fun things. Silly things like, hey, you're drawing a guy in a box. And there's no grand. I do not have any of the skill. If you want to see some really finely edited things, Scott Circlin has a real propensity for that. And well deserved and well defined over time. He doesn't have some team of people doing things with him for his videos. He does it himself. I do not have that patience or deliberacy about editing something. I just don't. And so I've often considered ways, while in my thinking chamber, which is the shower, you're standing there in the shower and you go, I could do that. I wish I had pen and paper to write this down on right now. I thought about ideas for how to use the cameras to go, hi, everybody. How are you? And then I realized I'd have to edit that, and that's already stopped that idea. I like to see the economic short on the Treasury edition to replace currency to soup. There you go. That's fantastic. See, this is why I need one. Wingnut. It's a Wingnut book that Dee Dee has. It's a Wingnut thing to start up. Maybe not Wingnut. They call it that, but call it something else. During the pandemic, I did a lot of editing for another channel. It takes time. I was giving online classes. It's just getting tasks and evaluating. Only one Zoom session per week. Yeah, time. It's tricky. Our state never really locked down, just a couple of weeks at the beginning. Yeah, see, I live in Canada, and our government has been the Liberal Party, and they tried to shut us down for a solid year. So it was ridiculous how much, so much so that, and this is why the media doesn't represent clearly. This is why there was such a radical backlash to it. The shutdowns and the lockdowns and the restrictions were so intense here in Canada that what was initially intended by a number of truckers to have 5 people blocking this piece of highway here, and then 5 people blocking this piece of highway here, and 5 people blocking this piece of Trans-Canada Highway, which crosses this country, in order to illustrate a point that all of us are so annoyed across the country for all these restrictions and all of this diminishment of people to be able to make a living, and everybody going into incredible amounts of debt because of lockdowns here. If this is too political for you, I'm sorry. That got so out of hand and so completely overwhelming in its application because so many people came out and so many people were disappointed by the disruptions that quickly it became a shutting down of the Trans-Canada Highway across the country, not segments of it in order to establish a point, but all the way to Ottawa, from one side of the country to the other, which is massive. And, because we didn't have, mild restrictions in here, like other places. We had massive restrictions in this country. And ridiculous impact and economically on people. So, that was just a couple weeks at the beginning. I think I read it as beginning. But if people disagree with that and have their different takes on it and whatever, okay. Everybody's got allowed their own headspace on it. But when you start enforcing things to an extent that people can have their own headspace on stuff, we got problems societally here. And that problem is people finally being disabused of the illusion of individuality. Well, I have rights. You don't. Anyways, I don't like being forced to take vaccine. It's not now proven not to make you or to stop the. Well, there's going to be a warning advisory on this one. That's what happens here in Canada. As soon as anybody says anything on things that the government disagrees with, they put a warning advisories on your stuff going out, and then there's also go to this place for the real information, or if I can't get any proper news from any place else outside of Canada, because recently we also had something come down that there's no more news like that to feed through social sites and stuff. I received so many that I'm now registered with the Department of Agriculture. That's fantastic, Dan. Hey, you can get all kinds of farmers rebates on that, we couldn't. Not a lot of people can do home office. They don't have internet. Schools closed. That affected students a lot. Small towns, specifically poor. Yeah, all of this restrictions and things for the benefit of all hurt nobody as much as they did those that are in the lower economic classes and with less accommodation. Those are the ones who suffer the most. And if there's not enough challenges for people to rise up out of diminished economic states, why not give them some more? Hey, why not put some more hardship on that? And for what? For what? This was a test project, is what this was, for control. And I know that a lot of people are going to be like, Chris, you might be kooky, but history tells us otherwise. History tells us that, there's lots of examples of actions and activities that follow hand in hand with this. That's what's happening. So it's a nice way to. So Canada now will just say what is told to us. No, not at all. This is the big project that I'm working on for next year. Is the full graphic story that I'm doing, which is pretty anti. If you haven't figured out yet, I'm not much of a herd think guy, a group think guy. And so this new project that I have is specifically referring to that. The problem with Patreon and posting certain weekend pages that I do on Patreon only, and as a response to the people that are doing those economic supports, is that tends to be my radical thinking days. Is the days where I'm like, yeah, you know what else I'm ticked off about? And so I've done some pages lately that are just absolute rebuttals of groupthink and stuff like that. But I think that they're only. Let me see. I pull one up here. Let's see what I got. There's a couple that I've just put up. Here's one, and I'll show you those. I'll switch the camera to show. It's if they limit your access to the news, they do. They do indeed. It's the start, and we need to get. This is why I advocate that we need to get this government the hell out of here. They've been 8 years of democratic imposition of fascist control, and to the extent of he just got caught taking a $15 billion amount of money. The dingus that's in charge. He reallocated $15 billion of funding monies into this program that's going to do all these things, which is the exact same program with a new brand on it and a new label on it to be administered through his social network. It's the exact same thing of another program that he had all these billions of dollars invested in, that they didn't do anything for generating the homelessness problem and the lack of accessible housing for low-income people in this country. And they built 1,500 units across our country. Billions of dollars of bureaucratic garbage. And now he's made a new $1 billion bureaucratic pile of crap that's not going to happen at all. And, he got caught. And there's a $1 billion surplus amount in that account for his party and for additional charges that are come through this program. That's putting money in your pocket. So we've got to get rid of this yo-yo. So here's a page I did recently. I'll switch camera and show you some of the stuff that I've been doing on Patreon only, folks. How's that? I hope you don't mind me doing that. But let's do it. So this is, can you see that? There's a page. Is that big enough, or I can walk you through it? So this is a poem I wrote recently, and I'm not one for generally doing poems. But this poem is, those in control don't need you to know where they are. Whether near or far, we can't reach their bar, for they believe they're above the rest of us. Some cause a fuss. People have tried to take them down, trying to take the shine off their crowns, to no avail. They fail and are made to suffer for it. But we shouldn't quit. Let's try to find out their names, discover how to disrupt their games. They play on us all. We want them to fall, to see them lose it all. Join with our plan. Please lend your hands, your fists. There has to be a better way than this. And so this is part of the story that's coming out next year about taking down the city. It's about taking down corruption and trying to institute a more, what Americans call democracy, a more democratic system. And other people, that see extreme examples of democracy as socialism. But it's a piece of political, oh, thank you, Dan. It's a piece of political satire to say the system's broken and the people that, think they're in charge are, raking it in off the backs of others. And we got to change that. We got to fix that. So the clean up the homeless in San Francisco lined it with Chinese flags for the Chinese guy to visit. Yeah, that's been a very popular thing in your media from what I understand. The injection wasn't mandatory. Nobody lost jobs. I understand, and this is a friend of mine who just did this as a talking piece, so it wasn't blocked here, and that's how most of the stuff that's going on down south is gets across to us. Is that there's something that 85,000 people have to be given their jobs back and the back pay for them that got illegally fired during the virus. Oopsie, that's a lot of money. So good for those people, but that's a lot of money. And of course, those people will have to apply themselves to that to get it. Thank you, though, Dan, for that comment. It's very nice. An optional choice on things. Let me think of that. Hey, crazy. Great colors. Hey, thank you. Thank you very much. I really enjoyed doing this page. And in addition to this one, I've got, let me see if I can find some more of the, there's another Frankenstein's Monster page that was done as a Patreon exclusive. And that's this one. It's Stephen goes to the Jamboree. And so it's the hello, my name is Stephen. I'm trying to brush my teeth. Today, my adopted parents will take me to the Jamboree. And so when I read this in my head, I read it as, they gave me a hat to wear. Hat good. We're not taking a clown from guest room. Clown's bad. I like guitar music. These people make good songs for dancing. I dance with a girl. Girls are fun. That man says we can dance all night long. Dancing is good. Dancing is good. It's such a goofy page, but this is just another Patreon exclusive page that was put up. And then there's, things like there's a subtle piece here. Peeling back the onion. This is another one of my don't trust the robots, don't trust the government pages. I think this might have been on a Friday that I posted this one. So I think people have been able to see that through the interwebs. But I'm not sure if this Love and Science was posted for anybody beyond. So there's just all these additional pages that I do, and that's why the numbers go up, but you don't see the different pages because I just do them on and post them there on the weekends just to give a little extra something as a thank you for. I know the three. I'm not petitioning anybody here to join on Patreon because I'm sharing them with you now, but those that do join on Patreon get to see all this extra junk. We need to get out of here. I'm trying. My device is scanning for a safe route this way. If the science police catch us, I'll be put back in a cell. They'll kill you, Kyle. We'll make it, Kara. Even if time resets and we get wiped out and replaced again, we'll still find each other. Hold on. Can you tell me about what you mean by time resets and we get replaced? You also said again. There's no time left for me to explain. I ran out of page. Here's a presentation of an idea and ran out of room. So, some of these things are just fun to do. So let me think, what else have I got? I'll show you a couple more, and then it's on to maybe this might be one. Yeah, I think this is one. This is what I talk about I get a little more radical on weekends. Fascists, turn to the left, turn to the right, beep, beep. If you know what that is, that's a David Bowie song. I just got the lyrics wrong. It might not be fascist. Turn to the left, fascist. We are the goons got in, we're coming. Anyways. Don't forget to show your books, Christopher. Thank you, Didi. I will do so in just one sec. Fascist, did that title grab your attention? There could be three ways that we can look at those that try to uphold authority and justice. The first is ideological. We see them as representations upholding agreed upon standards of living in our society. They act on policies and reinforce our agreed rights, rules, responsibilities. Second way is being reported more regularly is the idea that this ideology has been maligned to become a support mechanism for those systems and people in power positions. Another example of that is the exposed corruption and abuse of individuals in the system, perverting its ideal operation. That brings me to the third way that I think we could stop and look at those that are workers within these systems. Police, lawyers, judges, politicians, special agents, security guards, physicians, and any other example of someone in a position of authority are still only people. People alone or in groups are fallible and imperfect in balancing the wants of self along with the needs of the group. A system designed by people is in need of readjusting itself with changing times, size, and cultural values. Many different societies in the world today that all have systemic weaknesses and benefits. People bandy about all kinds of terms to describe them, hence the title. Good or bad, made of people, just like you or I. Beep, beep. I should have put beep, beep at the end of that. Anyways, let me see if I got one more, and then it's on to... I think I got one more. I don't know if I showed this or not. This is the big bad. I can't even tell you which ones are Patreon exclusive pages or not anymore. But the big bad, there's always a big bad, always hold up in some place that the average person can't find. It looks normal. This is a den of evil. Inconspicuous. It's usually not different from any other building in the same city. Multiple secret ways to circumvent laws, secret entrances that keep those that are involved from even being seen. Everyone suspects who these people possibly are. Safely locked behind closed doors, these individuals do as they please. That's how wickedness works. It does what it will and has no regard for how it affects others. Privately, mindlessly, thinking that there requires a special place for it to happen is great when it's in a story. I think there are places like this that exist. I know that there are places like this that exist. I know that people who commit evil exist. I count myself among them. These places, made with the most malicious intentions, are done by regular people and happen every day. We do them in broad daylight. Some might not even realize that our actions are causing harm. We commit acts of abuse or neglect daily. Small ripples, small acts that are like the outcome of a pebble dropped into a body of water. Oh, sure, there's larger acts perpetrated by corporations or nations motivated purely by greed. There are all kinds of things that done using the anonymity. Forget it. You know what the word is. Anonymity of being part of a larger body. It's groupthink. The big bad, big plans that cause damages on a much larger scale are often incited by small wants. But the big evil isn't a person of Machiavellian maneuvers. Don't get me wrong, those people really are awful. The big bad is when we don't think. Is this a good thing? It's when we don't think critically. When we just go along with narratives falsely made but easier to accept, easier to repeat, to tout, to think that it's the right thing without thinking for themselves. See, that's radical, Chris, that you don't get enough of. Anyways, Dan says, what do you want? We want information. Information in a line. Oh, I like that. Hi, Paul. Welcome to Radical Speak. Chaos Friday. That's what today is. He says, and then does a dance with a magic hat on. Okay, so let me get all this off. And I'm going to switch to the overhead. And it's kind of fun timing for you, Paul. I just want to showcase a couple of things right now that I don't think I take enough opportunities to do. So here are two creators in London here that I would like to show others. This is, whoops, that's the wrong book. This is Theo Dragoman. And these are his two books, Blivet. If you're familiar with the work of Kurt Vonnegut, you'll recognize Blivet. Blivet is it's a term that Vonnegut made up. It describes a 10-pound poop in a 5-pound bag. And Blivet, number 1. It has a nice piquant flavor, a bit of an earthy essence. I like it. If it has a nice piquant flavor, a bit of an earthy essence, is a reference to a bag of explosive confectionery treats in a Monty Python sketch of chocolates. Anyways, describing a 10-pound poop in a 5-pound bag as well. It's fun. So this is, Blivet here is a number of shorts, 2 pounds a 1-pound bag. I'm sorry, I said 10 and 5. It's 2 and 1. Anyways, these are shorts by Theo Dragerman that he's done. So Theo started coming to the Jam when we started in 2015. And, and then he went on to do a couple 4-page pieces, very brief pieces in our Apartments anthologies of 4-page shorts we publish other people's work in, after doing the 1-page pieces that we do in our Jam. And then he went on to do a couple of 8-page things and with the intention of being in our monthly RP comic book that has 8-page shorts in it. But instead, he got to work so fast and so great that he did an entire book called Rabid. It's a love story. And this is a zombie outbreak book about a person trying to define societal norms and understanding for a new world and trying to leave behind the old world that is now fallen. But he's doing so by reflecting on engagements and considerations and the new world order, or the old world order that he's just trying to escape from. So it's an interesting book. It's a really interesting book, and really good read. So I'm really proud and pleased of the book that he put out here that Theo did. And it was one of the last things that we published through our comic company. Was this 52-page piece of wonder. And then his other one is this Blivet, which is an anthology of all kinds of short stories that the same creator did. And love his work. He's got so many great, A Man of the World on a Blind Date. And, it's just about a really obnoxious person on a date with a poor lady. And then he does these little bits of his pastiche versions of superheroes. A true crime hero. So, Crime Smasher, we meet again for the last time. Dr. Devil, you fiend. Which one we should shoot him, boss? Nothing so crude, Bruno. Instead, I think a zap from my synaptic scrambler. You'll never get away. Someone of the sidekicks shoots him. That's the end of that superhero story. Then you got Kids Fun Comics. And this is, with your parents gone, your destiny is now your own. I can buy anything I want. This is his pastiche on, certain Cape Crusader. And then he has his new ward, or his sidekick, and he says, your job is to distract the gun-toting gangsters. So there's his perspective on Robin. And then here, of course, is Wonder Woman, Mud Girl. Because if you know the history of Mud Girl, is that the conceit is that Hippolyta, in want of her own child, the Amazons are women that rejected the world of men, and so they went off into the Paradise Island, where it's just a world of women that live entirely on their own without any interference by man, and they're immortal women that serve the goddesses of Greek mythology. And so when Diana, the queen, wants a child of her own, she's told by one of the goddesses to go and fashion a young female baby out of mud, and they will breathe life into it. And so that little girl raises up on the island, and she is Wonder Woman in today's comic world. So here's all the other girls on the island, all the women on the island teasing and calling her Mud Girl. And then another one here is Cyclops, where the kid burned the farm down with his eyes. They told him he was adopted, and as soon as he opened his eyes up, he burnt everything down. It's either Cyclops or Superboy. His takes on superheroes are not nice. When is the atomic age? Sorry, but your blindness is the least of the effects that you're going to get from the radiation. Anyways, and then Tommy John about It's a story of alcoholism, about playing catch with the dad who's a little bit drunk. It's just so many stories, and it's his version of Beowulf. And if you know Beowulf, which is one of the earliest Celtic written pieces, the earliest one that we know of historically of the British Isles, of anything that was written and transcribed, was a story called Beowulf, about a Viking king who protected his area from trolls. And but he's written it down as this troll of a neighbor who lives beside these Viking football fans, and how he tries to malign their world, and they have to figure out calling in their great hero to smite him. It's just a wonderful re-examination. I got you, bro. That's Beowulf. So it's just a re-examination on form. And then there's a wonderful true life story about their father in an alcoholic stupor naming a dog Hitler, and the kids not realizing that calling their dog from running out towards a parade going through town, and all these kids chasing a dog shouting Hitler, Hitler, and it's going to offend people. Just fantastic work, and that's by Theo Dragoman here in town, which is clearly a pseudonym. And so the other pieces I give a little giveaway on. I really want to talk up Gary Hodges' DVSM books again. If you have not had an opportunity to read these, I know Paul Pate, who's in the stream. Maybe Paul's still here. I still got to say hello, group. Sorry, Paul. The ratio is always difficult to remember. Oh yeah. And Paul says about Theo's work, I like those pages with those small panels chock full of action and dialogue. Yeah, he's fantastic for that. Didi has all of Gary's books, and I know Paul has Gary's stuff. These are so good, and the subtitle to it is Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots. That's the DVSM. But I'm really happy that he steps away from that and just focuses on the DVSM and the date part instead. Because Dinosaurs versus Mars Bots, people might see as juvenile pedantic, but the truth is that these are fantastically done stories. Absolutely fantastically done. Fantastically illustrated. He has a faux language that he has devised his own, and really complex, numerous substitutions. It's a substitution dialect. I sat down when I got these 3 books, I sat down for about an hour and a half and broke down the language. I don't have all the letters yet, so I can't write fully. I couldn't respond to Gary by writing to him in his own dialect because I don't have the G yet. But hopefully when volume 4 comes out, well worth the wait. Gary's writing the script for the 4th book now. It takes time to do these books, but well worth the wait because they are phenomenal books. Because the pieces are, and I'm going to spoil one thing for you. The pieces are actually character studies about people engaged in the story themselves. They are about character studies of these 2 guys evaluating whether their actions are just in the jobs that they are doing in this first book alone. And then we get on to exampling what the jobs that they do are. But every one of these books are character studies, and they're really well done ones at that. So if you're looking for a good read, then you like things like the X-Files, look up DVSM by Gary Hodges. Fantastic. And I know that Didi and Paul both like these books as well. Yeah, there we go. So there's those. And speaking of Paul, this is This is the 2nd book by Paul Pate, who's in the stream today, on Detective Perez. I say Perez. I know it's Perez. That's pronounced, by you guys, but I say Perez because my wife and I watched a series called Shetland. And the detective constable in this series of Shetland, it's Jimmy Perez. That's how they say it in North Scotland. It's not. It's Jimmy Perez. So whenever I read Perez, that's how I hear it in my head now. Anyways, these two books, Paul's already got. Paul Pate lives and draws in a quaint little town north of Grand Rapids, Michigan, called Rockford. Don't go back to Rockford. Oh, no, it's Rockville. Anyways, REM song. These books are phenomenal. I asked Paul how many pages he's got in each of his books. He says about 100. These are over 200 pages each. And I don't have the first book to show you in my hot little hands right now because I have somebody else reading it at the moment who has already poured through it, and they're pouring through it again, and they love it. And I can't speak any highly of the fact that you can give a book to a different person who doesn't necessarily read these, and they've poured through it, and they're pouring through it again. So if you want to read some really good crime noir stuff that has a fantastic turn on it and incorporates other elements as well, check out these. The Welcome to Rust City and the Rust City Stabber are his two books, and you can find those on under Paul Pate. Paul Pate. There you go. So Noir, Paul's books. For Spanish people like Chris K, I think you're saying it right. Yeah, it's Detective Perez. Actually, it wouldn't be detective in Spanish. Anyways, these are, I got two more creators' works that I want to show you. That's 5 today because I'm just, the stress is on the first E, Perez. Yeah, there we are. Emphasis on the first syllable. Americans emphasize on the second. Is that right? Okay, neat. What about detective? What's detective in Spanish? Just for, my own interest there. These are books by Doug Rogers. Doug is my good friend that I do the comic jam with, and we've been doing the comic jam together since 2015. Now, Doug is, his father was an illustrator and artist, a printer, and Doug is an illustrator and an artist. And his work, he does entirely digitally, and he does all these fantastic illustrations about cats, and he tries to do political illustrations. And he does political illustrations about London stuff as well. But his Untold Tales from East of Adelaide is true stories, and it literally is, happenstance of events that he experienced walking in the East of Adelaide area and some of the stuff that he's come across. And it's just interesting stories. Like Jim's Used Books is one of the Book Brothers. That I loved going to these two guys' stores. And then the Embassy Hotel was a fantastically awful bar. But right beside it was this little place called the Embassy Cultural House, which was one of the coolest, most, whatever Portland ascribes to be as a city with all of its hipster cafes and all that stuff, the Embassy Cultural Hotel, the Embassy Cultural House beside it was doing it in the 1970s and 80s. But the Comic Book Collector is the first comic company, the first comic store that we had in London and this entire region of Canada. And it was one of the first 8 stores in the country for being able to be a direct market comic book store. You didn't have to go to all the different news stands and variety stores and grocery stores to find your monthly comics. This was one of the first stores that comics just went to. And I don't think a lot of people realize is that the direct market didn't start until then, until the 70s, 80s. And it was Jim Shooter at Marvel that said, we got to put our books out directly to comic stores first and focus on that over these variety stores, because that's regular readers that want to read these periodicals each month to come out. So that was a substantial change. And one of the places it started was here in Canada, here in London. So these are Doug's books that he puts out. They're simple photocopy pieces from Samu Press. And these are stuff that he did during the lockdowns here in Canada. Strange beliefs that gravity doesn't work until you look down. So if you notice, his eyes are always peering up. Ah! Anyways, his stuff is just these really interesting, different approaches to storytelling with a different graphic take on things. Like Moom is such an elegant thing, and he does all these digitally, so they're really different applications for digital works, for sure. But these are by, if you want to see Doug's work, look up Samu Press, SAMUPRESS, on Instagram, and I'm sure that you can access copies by contacting him. And these are Comic Jam stories. These are ideas that came about from ideas that we had at the Comic Jam, and Doug went home and filled out some of these as their own unique pieces. And you can see this is the early books that he was doing on his own were books about cats and cat habits. And you can take a look at all those works as well if you contact Doug. But here's these penguins walking by, a blimp flying behind him, and this giant cat on the horizon. It just says tourists. The saucers, they're everywhere, in the wind, in the sky, over all the land and sea, on the mountaintops, in the most remote places. In the night, surrender. We've got this planet covered. Just good stuff. So this is another one of the things that he did during the lockdowns, but SAMUPRESS. So, detective. The detective. The E in Spanish is like the E in EH. So detective Perez. There you go. That sounds. It makes me. I say it like a goofball. But the last person to show you their work. Now he does a bunch of alt indie role playing books as well, and they're pretty good. But I wanted to talk today about Scott Brian Woods, who lives here in London. He did this book for his two daughters called Anywhere Can Be Everywhere. And I got a signed copy. Ooh. So this is the two girls, and it's just a children's book that he did Hera and Freya. And there's your opening part is the two of them having this open dialogue bit. And each page is, we're going on an adventure. Let's pretend we're in an enchanted forest. And then he takes the same setup, and then he recontextualizes the characters in an enchanted forest. And anywhere can be everywhere. And so he does this every time, where the two girls, let's pretend the floor is lava, and then in this world the floor is lava. So, and the whole book is, we're going to climb a mountain, climbing the mountain. So just wonderful work, really, really pretty aesthetic style, where he takes the graphic elements of the real world, and every time they go into the fantasy world, those graphic representations are still there, but just in line art form. Floor is lava. You still see the chairs here, and a sort of ghost effect to it. So again, this is another creator from town here, and a fun book that he did for his girls. And this is a similar format to how the Stream book, if the publisher ever finishes it, is going to come out as. So that's 5 different creators here in the city that the independent creators that I'm aware of. They're not all in the city. 2 of them are, but that I wanted to show you their work because I'm just so pleased by it. Like Teo Dragoman lives in Woodstock, Ontario, which is nearby. So he's not in London, but he's one of our jam people. So he drives in from another city to take part in our event here. And then the DVSM by Gary Hodges, and the Rust City Stabber, and Welcome to Rust City by Paul Pate. So that's just some stuff I wanted to show today. I was cleaning up the space, and I just discovered these. It's not that I lost them. I had them sitting in front of me on the wooden shelf, and I moved a supply shelf to under my desk here, along with my printer and scanner. And when I did so, I put a bookshelf up in their stead. And as I was moving the bookshelf and transferring the books, I said, "Oh my! I got to talk about these again. I love these works." So, and I've got a number of other Canadian books that I've received over time to show folks as well. So, thanks for the stream, Christopher. Have a good weekend, guys. Thank you, Didi, for coming and joining us, and I hope you have a great weekend as well. Paul says he'll be passing through London in April. And Paul, if you need a room to stay at overnight, you're more than welcome. We got a room for you. I'd love to see you. Yeah, I want to meet you in person too, buddy. That'd be great. Chris says, thanks. I'll see you around sometime, somewhere. Okay, before you go, though, you are streaming with Miriam on her channel. Is it tomorrow? Or is it Sunday, Chris? If Sunday on Miriam's channel, I went and scrolled back through. Sunday on Miriam's channel, Chris and Miriam will be doing some art together. So if people want to check out. Tomorrow morning, Paul Pate will be doing Saturday morning cartoons on his channel. So if you guys want to go and check that out, please feel free to do so. And Dee Dee will be on Monday morning at 8:30 a.m. is usually when she starts, 8:30 EST. I'm not sure what time that is for you. Chris says Sunday around 8 a.m. EST, I think is. So yes, excellent. So if you get a chance to check those out, thanks everybody for hanging out and taking part and enjoying it. I really appreciate the opportunity to hang out with so many people in so many different places, and for us to be able to share our creative journeys and ideas and stuff together. So, and I appreciate the opportunity to see other people's projects and to respond to other people's works. It's a gift. It's a blessing to be able to do that. And so thank you all for your time and your energy and your collaboration. If people have stuff that they're working on that they want to share and they don't feel comfortable doing so in an open forum, love to see it. If there's a way, figure out, getting a chance to get a look at it, I'd love to be to the affordance of that opportunity. So feel free to share stuff and ideas and suggestions and all that other jazz. Okay, with that, I think I'm going to go and take some stuff for my cold and go and have a nap before the grandkids arrive, which is a very short nap. Okay, gang. Paul says, so fun. Thanks for the kind words about Detective Paris. Oh, they're great books, Paul. Fantastic, great crime noir books. Really good. And with such a surreal bent at times. I take a peek at Paul's work as he posts it almost daily on Instagram, and but I don't read through it because I'm really excited to read it as a solid story, a solid trade. So I'm looking forward to that third book's release, which is going to be happening in 2024. So that's pretty exciting. Okay, with that, I'm going to sign off and say have a great weekend, everybody. I might pop up somewhere this weekend. And I think at certain times I'll be open to joining in with people if they're interested. Let me know. In the meantime, bye for now, and have yourselves a lovely day. Take care, all. I'll have this posted for Monday, and I'll be posting other pages on Patreon this weekend as well. So for Patreon exclusive stuff. So take care, everybody. Have a great day. I'll see you later on.